Hello and welcome to COP26 here in Glasgow. My name is James Butcher and I'm Head of Policy at the NFB. We've just attended the construction session this morning on Cities and Built Environment Day at COP26, and we've been walking around the green zone meeting some really interesting exhibitors and having some really interesting discussions about how the future of our industry will impact our net zero challenges. But before we do that, we've got an interview for you between Hitachi and our Head of Housing and Planning Policy, Rico Walter-Levich. So I will pass you straight over to him and then back to me.
Hello. So we are here at Hitachi, who have got an amazing point-to-point scheme. And really it's about placemaking. How do we ensure that our estates and our places are better designed with the future transport system in mind? So I've cajoled Laura here to come and have a chat to us about what Hitachi's doing. And I guess how you envision kind of a placemate city. So do you want to talk through this amazing little
monolith?
example of a city,
We've put together this monolith here. So what Hitachi's vision is, we're going to have sort of smart cities. So we need to consider how we're powering, because we're going to have an increased sort of demand for electricity and power generation, but it's also how we have clean transport as well. So you can get a clean electric Hitachi train, from city to city, and then you can get on a Hitachi bus and get you closer to your home. But then what we need to consider as well is the last 2 miles of the journey. So it's how do you get, from that depot to your front door. And we've got a number of different projects that we're actually looking on. So what we're investigating is electric vehicles. So the idea here is that we have, so we've got a prototype here. We've got a model that is actually fully electric. Instead of having one central motor like a standard electric vehicle, we've got 4 motors, so 1 on each wheel. So it's actually 30% more efficient than a standard electric vehicle. So all the power is being driven directly into the wheel, which makes it lighter. You've got less mechanical parts. It's much more efficient, and the battery should last longer. So this is what Hitachi are kind of doing. It's considering the whole picture and how we can sort of work together and collaborate with other people to just build a more efficient society, basically.
And Laura, I was wondering, the government is trying to push, especially our industry, to kind of build more places that are not car reliant. And if you look at, say, the Dutch model of house building, they would have perhaps a car park on the end of a development where people might have their personal car, but in between they expect people to actually travel in public transport. Do you think this is kind of a solution whereby you can operate within the confines of that estate and take people to where their home is, to where the car is, so that we reduce the amount of reliance on cars themselves?
Yeah, so what we're looking at is actually the future model is these electric vehicles are driverless, so they'll be completely autonomous. There's not necessarily a need to own a car yourself. So instead, you order the car on the app, it turns up to your front door, takes you to the nearest train station or bus depot, and you can sort of get around that way. So you're sort of taking away the cost of the individual end user, because a fleet operator such as Uber, for example, or another taxi company would actually own and lease these vehicles. So it's much cheaper for people. And when you consider how fast cars depreciate in terms of cost, it's not really always financially viable for the end user to actually buy a car. So this is a great option to actually consider how we can make electric transport much more affordable for the general public.
And as I understand it, you're effectively trying to sell the concept to car companies that then stick it in the actual cars themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this concept that we've actually modelled here is in collaboration with Audi and Honda. But essentially, this technology sort of reconsidering the design of the electric motor, it can be applied in any vehicle. So it can be used for multiple applications. So not just sort of multiple transport, but places like airports or for delivering parcels, for instance. So it can be applied anywhere, really.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. You're absolutely brilliant. And we're going to move on a little bit now and just kind of see what else we've seen around this area. So we'll pass it back to James.
Thank you, and I hope you found that useful. One of the key messages that came out of the construction session this morning was about the need for inter-industry collaborative working. And if you've been following any of what the CLC has put out, you'll probably be aware of the Construct Zero program, which is something that we are proud to be project partners of. Now, in that session this morning, they were talking about those 9 priorities, which you can engage with too. One of them, priority 3, is about the connectivity of the places that we design and build. And this is a really, really good example of how Hitachi are stepping up to the game to make smart, connected cities, and how we can actually move away from having these carbon generating cities because of the traffic that flows through them. And we can use EV technology to move people between those places. We've had a number of other really interesting discussions today, including with the National Grid, which I referred to earlier, and that is all about hydrogen. Now, the use of hydrogen is something that the government is exploring and is going to make a decision on by 2026. Now, in the meantime, the National Grid are trialling whether certain networks are able to take that and to what percentage. Now, we know that they're working with Keele University and they're achieving about a 20% mix at the moment in a very small test project. Now, that's really, really good because hydrogen doesn't have anywhere near the carbon footprint that natural gas does. In addition, they're trying in Cumbria a much bigger scheme to see whether the existing gas network can actually take it and what upgrades need to be made in order to achieve that too. So it's been a really, really good day here, and we've got lots to do. Rico's going to talk in a minute, very shortly, about his interactions with the local government association, who we work with a lot anyway, but I think it'll be quite fascinating to hear some of the discussions he's been talking about. In addition, you might be wondering, okay, this is great, but how do I get involved? And if you've seen it today, hopefully you will have seen some of our marketing and the 5 key things that you can do to get involved. So number 1 is our key message is make a commitment. You know, if you make a commitment, even if you're not sure about the whole net zero and what you can do, once you make a commitment, then you can really start to work towards it and make some marginal gains and make a difference. Because the collective ability of us all to achieve net zero is based on us all making that commitment. Secondly, and I referred to it earlier, is aligning with the Construct Zero campaign and the performance framework. And again, there's more information on that on the NFB website and our social media channels, so check it out. The third thing that you can do, and I think this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important, is measuring your carbon emissions. And if you're already doing this, why not challenge yourself and look to another area where you currently don't? The big issue, of course, for most of our members is the supply chain and working out that. So if you can work collaboratively with your supply chain and get them to, even at a very simple level, start measuring their emissions, then you can start to understand the holistic impact of what you're working on. There are other things that you can do to engage with us. The fourth thing, and we've been working for some years, and I think Mark Wakeford is watching right now, who is chair of the MCG group, has led our MCG group to produce 2 reports on how we're going to achieve net zero. And one of them is a handbook on how you can decarbonize. And it's got loads of useful resources and information that you can access. So click on that. And the final thing, and the key message that we've heard repeatedly throughout today, is to share your message. Share what you're doing, share your progress, because ultimately without that whole collective action and without championing what you're going to do, including with your staff, your employees, your supply chains, we really aren't going to hit that 2050 deadline. So I'm going to hand back to Rico now, who's going to talk about the work he's been doing with the local government association.
Well, while we do that, we're going past here, SSE, who are delivering onshore renewables, and unfortunately I couldn't get them to talk about planning policy, which it's a Rico interview, so you're not going to get away with not talking about planning policy. But it's very interesting because the issues that house builders and constructors have are exactly the same as SSE have. I was talking to one of their consultants who said that the biggest issue they have is ornithology and natural England. So getting those projects across the line is a real complexity for them. It takes many years to do the surveys. And then they've got the new issue now of peat bogs, which obviously are a great carbon sink. So how to deliver those NSIP, so National Strategic Projects, infrastructure projects, that's a real big issue for them. But we're just going to go off now and talk to the LGA. Well, I'm going to show you around the LGA because unfortunately we've had to, the person we were interviewing had to be called away. But they actually deal with some of the local issues in planning. So especially if we talk about the actual onshore delivery process, that is hugely influenced by the planning process. Unless the planning process allows your net zero carbon solutions to get over the line, it's very difficult to deliver outcomes. We can take an example of someone like Verto Homes, who are trying to currently deliver a huge student village. It's net zero. They are not being supported in the planning process, in my opinion. I'll let them speak for themselves. And that's a real concern, because when you're doing something so innovative, you would think the planning process would support you. But if it's not, how can we do more? Even sites of 19 homes, they would struggle to get over the line. And this is repeated over and over. It's not just them as our member. So we carry on walking this way a little bit. We can have a look at the LGA. Now, the LGA have worked with the NFB in the past, but perhaps there were some concerns with how smaller developers actually deliver the outcomes that. And often they work with the larger builders, and they really support their needs. So what we'd like them to do is consider more how the smaller builder can actually deliver outcomes. And that might be delivering more renewable solutions on site. It might be championing the products that we do so that the planning process is supported more easily. It might be doing local development orders that deliver more passive house homes and net zero homes. So I'm not going to force the LGA to come and have a chat, but I'm just going to show you some of the great work the LGA are doing to kind of enable some of these net zero solutions. So they have a climate change hub here, and you can go to the website, lga.gov.uk. If you go to our support page, you can see their climate change section. And they've got some great commitments and key information. But there's some elements here that are going to be absolutely vital for our industry. And it's going to be good for members to actually have a look at what they are and understand how the LGA are thinking, so they can kind of work with that. So we've got biodiversity e-learning for councils, which is a big thing going forward. And some local authorities just want to do 10%, but some want to go to 20% extra biodiversity on their sites. That's actually really important, because it's going to be a challenge to deliver all that on site. And we don't just want to spend off-site credits, and which is effectively a tax. We want to deliver better outcomes. But as part of this scheme, they'll be training each experts and local authorities to actually deliver for the LGA. So the Net Zero Innovation Programme is going to be one of the most important parts, because that will ensure that if you want to do a project that involves ground source heat pumps, onshore renewables, like wind, like solar, you actually get support from your local authority, and support something like an energy as a service system, whereby somebody else actually installs all the hardware and the infrastructure. You just come along and build your homes along the side. So although we couldn't get anyone from the LGA to actually have a conversation about it, I think it's really important that they recognise now that they have a big part to play in enabling these solutions, because otherwise it's just going to be put on developers and builders and constructors, and we already know what that's like. It's very expensive, you don't get a lot of support, you spend a lot of money on infrastructure that somebody else manages in perpetuity, profits from, for example, the substations. So these sort of solutions are really key. And throughout the whole event, really, there's lots of these different types of opportunities that enable better outcomes. And it's not just a tax on the developer. So we'll move a little bit more this way. And, all around here, we've got lots of different solutions. So if we just swing to this side over here, this is West Dunbartonshire Council, and they've been doing a lot of really great work on district heating and retrofitting, and ensuring that actually the outcomes that we deliver better market-based solutions. And market-based solutions are a key component, because the government can't just keep taxing everybody. So we've been here for quite a lot, just trying to find out what the government can enable the market to do, rather than just assuming the market that will deliver things for the government. So hopefully we'll bring you some more updates going forward. We're just going to move over now to the nice COP sign, and James Butcher will give you a final roundup of what we'll be doing for the rest of the day.
I just wanted to really finish with one thought, which came out of the construction session this morning. So it was co-chaired by Andy Mitchell, who is one of the chairs of the CLC, but also Sarah Lindell from Cundalls, and she's a sustainability engineer. And she had a really, really key message for us. And it was really nice and refreshing to see a young emerging leader co-chairing the session with Andy. And she said, look, a lot of the people who are in construction will still be in construction, but there are a number of people who will be new to construction. And of course, when you think about 2050, a lot of people who will be living then are not here yet. So it's hard to get our head around that. But she said the biggest successes that she has seen and that the CLC has seen has been in companies that ask differently and think differently. And we've had lots of members. I know Stepnell are doing it. I know Henry Boot are doing it. I know the Woodhead Group are doing it, are engaging the entire employee workforce, albeit representatives from them, but a cross-section of every level of the business. So these things aren't just dictated by the board, but actually if you engage every level of your business, you get new, fresh ideas. And that's how we're going to deliver the change. So if I can leave you with one final thought, and it's the key message from COP, it's let's do this together for our planet. Thanks for listening, everyone.